Welcome to Transformation with Martine. Martine Emmons is a transformational life coach who broke free from childhood abuse, sexual trauma, and overcame cancer to become a powerful force of healing and hope for others. Martine describes traumatic events as fierce emotional tsunamis. They can leave impending doom and destructive tidal waves of emotions that hit you when you least expect it. Martine helps her clients dive into the depths of their trauma and pain as she stands fiercely advocating for them to shine a light on those experiences and find the lesson in the pain. She serves as a beacon of hope that guides you to see the strength, lessons, and purpose that can be born from the pain. You can feel alive with purpose again when you awaken your dormant strength, step into your power with a sense of peace, and discover a new wave of hope with the right tools and support. Martine and her guests are here shining their lights today through empowering stories of hardship and transformation to inspire you to find hope and to see that there is a beautiful blue ocean of serenity, happiness, and fulfillment in your future. Transformation with Martine starts now.
Welcome everyone to Transformation with Martine. This is where we overcome everything and compromise nothing. And oh boy, we're going to get emotional today. I knew it was coming. I knew it. And this happens to me, as my regular listeners know. It happens to me a lot, especially when I have a guest that, well, I already have a connection with. I know better than some. Sometimes I have a chance to get to know people a little bit better than others. And this wonderful lady is my doctor. So, she's done so much good for me. So without further ado, my doctor, Dr. Nishath Hakim, please introduce yourself better than me. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that lovely emotional introduction. I don't think I've ever had such a great introduction. My name is Dr. Nishath Hakim, Martine, and I started working together, I think under a year ago. And my primary focus after being in internal medicine and pediatrics for over 23, 24 years has been to learn to help my patients, my clients take the journey into wellness and prevention and actually flip the dialogue between developing chronic disease and actually giving them hope and helping them go through a transformation to create wellness and prevention for themselves every single day, body, mind, and spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been about a year, and I might have told you in the beginning, I'm not positive, that when I was about 30, I had my first daughter that was about 2. And then I was pregnant with my second one. And I was in a jewelry store of all places with my husband. And we were just talking to the owner because we ran a Hispanic newspaper at the time. And we were in there talking to them because they advertised with us. And I was just kind of watching the kids more than anything, but listening and, helping wherever I could give advice or, add value to the conversation. And one of the ladies in there, she goes, I just feel like I need to tell you that when you reach about 38, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, you're going to really start to experience some irritation. Things are going to bug you more than others. You're going to get irrationally angry. These things are going to start to happen to you. And at the time I was like, obviously I'm not at that, age at this point, but that stuck in my head all these years. And that was a while ago. I'm 54 years old. So that was a while ago. And when I came to see you, I had kind of forgot, even though it was in my head, but I had a colleague of mine tell me, she goes, you got to check out hormone replacement therapy. And she called it something else I cannot think of at the moment, but she's like, you really got to do this. Because we were talking about some things. I'm like, oh yeah. And that just brought that conversation to mind. And then when I came to see you, you've got a way of explaining things that is so good. And I hope that this sounds right, but You explained things that an actual 10-year-old or less would understand it. And even though I'm a former paralegal, I have some medical knowledge and all that, but the way that you explained even your ovaries going into retirement was so enlightening for me. I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get this now. It was so amazing. Would that be a good place to start to talk about what
Yeah,
starts happening to a woman?
sure. Yeah. And I want to preface it that it happens to women and it happens to men as well.
Yes.
So as we go through this, always to keep in mind that your partner, your male colleagues, relatives, parents, we all go through this. And so typically what I try to tell people is 100 years ago, in 1911, if you looked at the lifespan of a male, 1911 CDC statistics, he would pass away at the age of 50. Females would pass away at the age of 53. So also from a biological standpoint, our ovaries are the ovaries are the primary center to make three hormones: testosterone, progesterone, and that ever famous estradiol. So as those are declining, it typically occurs in your late 40s, typically at the age of 51. So if you kind of read what the universe was saying is, hey, 50 years old, 100 years ago, men would pass away, women would also decline and die at the age of 53. It kind of said that biologically we were done procreating. However, what's changed in the last 100 years is that, number one, women are living into their late 80s. Men are going to live into their late 70s. So we've kind of expanded and prolonged our lifespan in 100 years. Pretty darn amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. Is there a reason or a statistic why men go before we do? Is it health, our health care? We pay attention more?
Typically for men, we don't know exactly why men go before women, but biologically it's sort of always been there by a few years. And I think it's because, number one, I personally feel, as a physician who's been practicing, women tend to come in sooner to address their healthcare issues. We are also the drivers of healthcare in our home, meaning you are the one, most of the time, it's the mom bringing the kids in.
Yeah.
Mom's taking you to the dental appointment. Mom is taking you in for your eyes to get checked out. You're going to go get your immunization. So even from a very young age, the mom is the one taking the child in for the healthcare. So we're more comfortable dealing with the healthcare system. And most of the time, anecdotally, it's the wives who will say, I'm sending my husband in next week. So I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it. Men tend to be less verbal, especially about really personal issues. So when we get into hormone replacement with men, they are just so sweet and shy about it. They don't really want to talk about it. They kind of, don't say a lot. Women, on the other hand, they come in, they're like, I have been experiencing a tremendous amount of change. And that is the difference between men and women. So the changes that end up happening in women is a lot more symptoms happen all of a sudden. The decline is absolutely occurring in your middle to late 30s, just like was it the jewelry store owner's wife? Yeah. So she was 100% on board. Yeah, in your 30s, 40s, and then right into your late 40s, that little ovary who was producing those three little key hormones decides that she is going to look into her 401k benefits, her Medicare, and she just starts picking up, and she stops showing up for work. Yeah. Sometimes she comes in, sometimes she doesn't. And that can produce symptoms such as hot flashes, mood swings, abdominal bloating, and decreased libido. Sometimes women feel more dry down in the vaginal areas, which, by the way, which puts them at increased risk for urinary tract infections. So suddenly women are like, why are all these changes happening? And then to boot, you perhaps start gaining 15, 20, 30 pounds all of a sudden. and memory fog starts setting in as well. So suddenly you've got these plethora of symptoms that actually probably were there, but in very, very mild forms. And that has been, that little ovary, she's done a good job. She's been there for 50 plus years. She's like, I'm done. And then one day she starts checking out, going into retirement. And I always like to joke and saying she's somewhere on the beach in Miami, enjoying life.
Yeah.
So
that's okay.
That is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really the question is, a lot of individuals will say, well, okay, so it's normal, right? Like, meaning I should go into menopause. I should lose these hormones naturally, right? That's what Mother Nature dictated. What I have seen as a physician over the last 20 plus years, and I'm so grateful that I had these middle-aged menopausal women knocking my door down and saying, you need to help me recapture and regain my health because I don't like the way I'm feeling. And also in reality, they started developing more chronic diseases. They started showing up with higher cholesterol despite eating healthy. They started showing up with pre-diabetes. They started showing up with, I'm eating the same, but can you explain to me why I'm putting on 15, 20 pounds? Sometimes even depression. A lot of emotional upheaval would start occurring.
Yes. Yes. One of the things you said just a little ways back, I just want to capture this, how, women are the ones that get to the doctor. They're the ones that take the time to dive in. And I was just thinking about a conversation I had with my 23-year-old daughter yesterday. And she says she loves to just like share stuff that's going on, whether it's about her body or anything else. She'll just talk about it. And she's newly married. Her husband just doesn't say anything. And I was trying to kind of explain to her, like, is a phrase that I didn't get in the very beginning when I first heard it many years ago. Men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. We're always like interwoven and talking about all these different things and looking for people to have connections and talk with, whereas they just put things in these boxes, whether it's their health, their work, their whatever it is. And I just find that's really amazing,
Oh, 100%. And that's why it's usually, like I said, and, even in addition, the moms drive the children into pediatrics. Don't forget, these same moms are the daughters and then granddaughters who are taking their elderly parents or grandparents in for checkups. So we have to have the ability to communicate, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I was thinking about this morning, and it brought back this funny thing. I remember going to what would you call it? Like I guess kind of a sex party or whatever it is, but I mean like a toys party or whatever, like a bachelorette kind of thing. Right. And I remember this one person was leading it, and she's like, it took me so long to be able to say certain words. It still takes me a while to say certain words. It took me a long time just to say vagina, because I don't know, it's like an embarrassing thing, but I will still go in and talk. Whereas some people, I think it might be because of embarrassment, and that's, I guess, men and women though, right? They won't because they're shy.
Yeah, they're shy. And I think also it leads into intimacy issues, right? So it's not something that we're publicly allowed to just discuss. So I think that's like a very valuable point to, as we, move forward, is to kind of pick up on communication between men versus women and why intimacy is a very important part of healthy living and aging.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think maybe we're going to take a break in a moment, but it would be good to talk about just ways that we can talk. And I know that as we get older, not only I think we get bolder standing up for ourselves, but we're more able to discuss these things. Pretty much.
Oh, absolutely.
Most people.
Yeah, most people, and we need to, especially in this day of healthcare, we have limited time.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to be able to address the issue, communicate the issue, and really get the help that you need. And really, it's about in my field, or where I'm at now in life, is to help give individuals the tools to have a robust next 30, 40 years beyond their 50th birthday.
Absolutely. So before we take a break, where can people find you? I know it's out there, but still just saying it. Mhm.
It's www.prosperityhealthmi for Michigan.com, or you can give us a call at 248-997-4242. Prosperity Health, Dr. Nishath Hakim. You can find us on the web.
Yes. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you.
Hormone imbalances aren't just for the ladies. Men experience them too as they age. Are you experiencing low libido, fatigue, low stamina, and low energy? Call Dr. Nishath Hakim for a telehealth consultation, 248-997-4242, and learn more about andropause and hormone replacement therapy. Or visit prosperityhealthmi.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine. This is where we overcome everything and compromise nothing. My show is every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern, for everybody who may not know that. So I am talking with my personal doctor today, Dr. Nishath Hakim, and we are talking about anti-aging, living longer, preventative medicine. And on a break, we were talking a bit about like a primary care doctor versus a holistic doctor. And a holistic doctor goes to the root cause of what is going on, not just giving something to mask the symptoms. And I know from personal experience that Dr. Hakim takes the time to actually listen to you. She is, I'm not putting down any other doctors. I've had some great doctors, but she is the epitome of just perfect care. She listens, she takes the time to listen, she asks a lot of questions, and trusts you to know that you know your body best and you know if something's going on. Can you speak to that a little bit, Dr. Hakim, about us trusting ourselves and listening to our amazing bodies of what they actually do for us?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you again for that introduction. And I think we were talking about communication, right? Communication with healthcare, communication with our loved ones. But I think the communication between the signs, sometimes your body is sending you signals. So I'll just take an example. Headaches, right? Headaches or GI distress, also often coined the term irritable bowel syndrome. Neck and shoulder pain, who hasn't had that after a stressful day at work? Those are all signs that your body is talking to you. I think quite often in our very, very busy life, we often don't heed those signals. And then it can keep building, and it can, exponentially grow, and it may turn out to give you more issues later on down the line. So I think sometimes we need to take that break, and that break could be, gosh, give yourself 5 to 10 minutes outside, walking in this wonderful, what I like to call springing into spring, springing into transformation right now, and just, listening to your body as you're walking. So for instance, the other day, I was outside yesterday. We finally had some 70-degree weather here in Michigan, and yeah, we're enjoying it. And I was just walking along and kind of listened to my body, and I'm like, my left hip is a little tight and talking to me a little bit more. But keeping attention to that, I go home, I do some extra stretches and send it a little bit of extra love, because the last thing I want to do is end up getting, let's say, bursitis, or a fancy word for now I got inflammation in that joint. And it really, again, taking those small self-care tips or self-care treatments for yourself, a bubble bath, stretching, yoga, simply breathing, exercise, loosening up that diaphragm, can mitigate stress signals in the form of headaches, abdominal issues, hip joint pain. So I think communication, being aware of it, we just have to stop and listen, and we often don't.
One thing my husband used to say a lot, and now he's, as getting older and stuff, he pays more attention, but God, I don't want to spend that much money to go see the doctor, to go do this or do that. And I'm like, well, babe, you're going to pay it later.
Right.
Instead of preventing it now, listening to what's going on.
And that's one of the key differences between an integrative or a functional physician versus, let's say, I love my medical colleagues and everything, and I was in the regular primary care world for many decades. The key difference is that the integrative functional doctor is going to try to look for the root cause. So is the root cause work life, stress? Is the root cause, something going on the inside of the body that's manifested? Is the root cause perhaps trauma in the past? They're going to try to help sort everything out. It's almost like peeling an onion and pulling back the layers until you find it. And that does require time. And unfortunately, in this day and age, everything has become so automated that most doctors only have 6 to 8 minutes to spend with you.
Yeah.
So just as much as patients are getting frustrated, I can promise you that my colleagues also are feeling that loss of connection, of not being able to have that time to really look in your eyes and see what's going on. Because now we're like, stare at the computer, put in all the charts, put in all the vitals, so that has also been a barrier, in my opinion, to good healthcare. That's been a shift in the last 20 years, and we hear it over and over again. So that's why you're seeing physician burnout, physician and healthcare burnout. That was even occurring before COVID. Now it's just exponentially worse since COVID.
Right. I am wondering, do you find your patients, I know it fits me, do you find your other patients, because of the stresses of life, this could be a physician, this could be anybody in any field of work, that because of all the stresses, they don't know how to rest anymore?
100%. And if you think about it, to your point, you just said they don't know how to rest anymore. One of the biggest drivers is technology.
Yes, I know.
So, there's been a lot of neurological research about instant gratification, how every time we get a text and we get a ping, dopamine is being released into the brain, and the reward receptors are, pinging, and they're getting rewarded. And so it very much so becomes almost addictive. But if you're unable to respond and look at the text, look at the email, people actually get nervous. They get anxious. Their heart rate goes up, their respiratory rate. So unfortunately, we need to learn how to disconnect. And quite honestly, even as adults, we're not doing such a great job.
Right.
So it is really mindfully taking yourself and saying, everything is going to be fine. I don't need to go check my emails. I don't need to do this. And you actually have to go do this exercise every day, every few hours. And I need to take a break. And one of the key things is that's where work-life balance is completely disrupted. And that's why people are more unsatisfied today. We're connected in a good way, but also in a very toxic and bad way.
Yes. I find it really interesting. Are you familiar with Jay Shetty?
Yeah.
Okay. He's wonderful. I was actually listening to his Think Like a Monk book today. And every day I do his, what's it called? Daily J on Calm app. I do one of his, meditations. And he was saying, and this is like, oh my God, it's so true. We would not let a bunch of people in our bedroom in the morning, but here we are, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So it's like they're all in there. And if there's something in there that isn't, like, I don't know, funny or something that sets your anxiety, it's like you've already started your day in a state. So yes, it's like, it's being disciplined enough. Like, oh, wait, I'm not opening anything. In fact, Mel Robbins says she leaves her phone in the bathroom at night, so she does not pick it up by the bedside.
Absolutely. And I mean, let's think about this. I mean, you and I are part of a generation that, look, we grew up where there was only one phone in the house.
Yes.
And it was that, pastel pink and green, avocado green phone. And, everybody had to share. I mean, we did just fine 25, 30, 40 years ago. Trust me, And suddenly, we think this technology, absolutely, it is helpful. But I think there comes a point where, just as human beings as a species, we're just we're too into it, and it's going to have consequences. And I think one of the key consequences is, I'll say it, lack of sleep. Just like to your point where Jay Shetty said you wouldn't have 100 people in your bedroom first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have 100 people in your bedroom. Well, maybe you would. I don't know. Some people might. At 10, 11 p.m.
Right.
night, and then suddenly your eyes are you're unable to sleep at night, because now what you've done is you've set off certain things that have actually diminished your ability to sleep. So the melatonin, you have messed up your circadian signals and you're unable to sleep. So one of the key things I'm also seeing is people have disrupted sleep patterns now.
Right.
And that goes right into cortisol release. So if you have disrupted circadian rhythm, disrupted sleep from a variety of reasons, it could even be your cat and dog bothering you. But I have been seeing that media being too locked into, movies and so on and so forth in the evening is probably the worst thing. What it ends up doing is it releases more cortisol. Cortisol sends a message of fight or flight. That fight or flight message then gets transferred into whatever calories, whatever you put into your body is going to be transferred and stored as visceral fat, hence the weight gain.
Oh, that just sounds horrible. Golly, I get it though. It even just the light of your screen, even, all this stuff, I would assume disrupts it. I'm not obviously an expert as you are. But I know that can be disruptive. And I think a lot of times it will just like, now you're not getting to sleep, but even you'll wake up in the middle of the night and it'll be in there. Like you'll just be going round and round and round with something that probably doesn't even matter.
Right. And that's just it. The texting is going off, the pinging is happening. Some people, if they can't step away from their phone. So if it's pinging at 1 a.m., you wake up. And, again, your sleep is being disrupted. And by the way, there's been studies showing shift workers, people who are working the midnight shift. That has been shown over and over again. Those individuals tend to have more chronic diseases than, let's say, the people who follow their circadian rhythm. And it's very famous here in Southeastern Michigan, because we live in Detroit and we have shift workers in all the auto companies.
Right. Absolutely. You know what I noticed yesterday when I went for really long walk in the morning. It was so beautiful. Went outside for my walk and I noticed, and your nurse actually lives really close to me. And I live in a particularly busy area where there's always construction. I kid you not, out of about 20 people going by in vehicles, maybe one wasn't texting, maybe one.
Yeah.
Isn't that awful?
That's dangerous. It's just,
oh my gosh.
And I mean, studies have also shown trying to multitask. I mean, that's just horribly dangerous, but you're really not going to accomplish your task faster. You really aren't.
No. And actually my master coach, several years ago, and again, it's like being a paralegal in the corporate world, I didn't fully get it. Multitasking is a lie, is what he said. And I caught myself the other day thinking, how ridiculous is this? Trying to brush my teeth and make my bed at the same time. It really doesn't work. Toothpaste all over the place. Right? It's ridiculous. And I was like, why? Just slow down.
Well, and to your point, multitasking is a lie, but also women's brains were designed for multitasking, and maybe we can pick up on that later and why they feel so many symptoms.
Good point. So we're going to take a break so we can come back and talk about multitasking with women. Thank you so much, Dr. Hakim, and thank you everybody for listening.
Hormone imbalances aren't just for the ladies. Men experience them too as they age. Are you experiencing low libido, fatigue, low stamina, and low energy? Call Dr. Nishath Hakim for a telehealth consultation, 248-997-4242, and learn more about andropause and hormone replacement therapy, or visit prosperityhealthmi.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we overcome everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Dr. Nishath Hakim. Dr. Hakim is with us today. And we've been talking about everything from living longer to gracefully aging to hormone replacement to so many wonderful things. And we left the last segment talking about multitasking and how women, it's just kind of inbred in us. Do you want to discuss that, Dr. Hakim?
Sure. So, again, going back to the different hats that women have to wear, inside and outside of the family, inside the extended family. So, from a very young age, we are trained to do multitasking. So at any given time, you might be, example, busy morning with your kids. You're getting lunch ready, backpacks are getting packed, you're saying to one kid, put your shoes on, your clothes on, so on and so forth, and then you're making your grocery list. I'm just giving you a basic
Very true.
for many moms. And suddenly they're out the door, perhaps they're dropping off the kids, then there's the dog groomer, so on and so forth. So at any given time, these women have to hustle, and they, are hustling at a pace, and they have like at least 15 or 20 things in their brain that they need to accomplish that day, if not more. Then they go into work, perhaps. And then the list, it continues to grow. More and more, research has shown that, by multitasking, you don't necessarily get through your task faster. And you spoke to that just now, Martine.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. So I like to use the analogy that if you are a female and you had your computer screen open, you would have like 10 different windows open. You would have the Amazon, you would have the doctor's window open. Now, a guy on the other side, a male, he's only going to have one window open.
Right.
They're very laser focused. That's where their kind of brain has been designed. So the focus and attention that they will give one task, and they'll only have, let's just say as an example, one task screen open, they will get through it so much quicker. But yet, and I think, we were designed that way because we do have to pivot really quickly. Right. So with hormonal decline, one of the key things that often happens in my wonderful women is they're like, wow, my ability to multitask is gone, doc. I can't do it anymore. To the point where some women will come in, especially working women who are taking care of multiple tasks, admins, those are the classic ones. They may be, I can't keep up with my boss's schedule. I messed up. I overbooked, underbooked. And boy, that didn't go over well. I've had women come in tears saying, this hormonal fluctuation, or what I believe is hormones, has gotten to a point where it's impacting my work. And I don't think I'm going to have a job if I keep this up. So it is not just for vanity reasons. I can assure you that many women can experience such severe changes in their inability to do those activities of daily living that it can impact their lives adversely. And, and I've seen it over and over again.
I have noticed just getting older, how I really have to manage my schedule so that I have time for workout in the morning, have the meditation time, all that, or my nervous system's out of whack. I don't feel right. I'm definitely better now with working with you. But sometimes it's like, okay, you're doing too much. You way overbooked yourself. And you need to scale back a little bit just to maintain that wellness.
And balance, right? I mean,
yes.
It comes down to balance. And so the interesting hormone, or one of the hormones that plays a key factor in the ability to decrease memory fog, is actually estradiol. So just, that's the famous one. But one of the key elements that I find is that, and it's been shown, studies have been shown that estradiol, the highest receptors of estradiol in the brain, is actually in the same area that can develop Alzheimer's. So there are some neuro researchers who are actually looking at the effects of how estradiol impacts memory. And that low dose hormonal replacement may actually protect your brain. So we often think, gosh, I'm doing these hormones because my ovary, has gone, into retirement, and I'm doing it because I'm hot flashing, or I'm dry and I have vaginal dryness and all these things. But if you really think about it, these hormones are systemic. They are affecting you in so many areas of your life and in your organ system that it has a lot of benefits in so many areas that we don't discuss on a regular basis.
Right, for sure. So speaking of that, how would you, I know, but to explain to listeners and your potential clients, patients, How would you walk somebody through? Like someone comes in or they call you up and they're talking to you, your nurse, Ashley, and like, okay, this is going on. How do you walk them through a time with you and explaining to them what's going on?
Oh, that's a great question. So, the difference between our particular practice and let's say, a regular, office visit, it first of all, we want to take the time and the place and the space to really understand what are your goals? What is going on? What is not working? Where would you like to be? So it's actually sitting down and listening to the patient, as we said, and trying to find out where are they at? What are they struggling with? How long have they been struggling with X, Y, and Z symptoms, chronic health issues, perhaps? And where do they want to make changes? Because hormones are just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. I mean, it seems to be the real popular subject nowadays as we're aging as a population, but really it's beyond that. It is how your body and your mind and your emotions interact with your daily environment. And it is really an interesting point that, if we have time, we can discuss a little bit differently, because how your body and each person you interact with every day can release certain hormones that feel good. They can release hormones that increase cortisol or stress. And every interaction has its basis. So when a patient comes in, 45 minutes, that's our first consultation. We try to understand where they're at. If they are also willing to make some changes in their life. Like for instance, if, it's an individual who's like, yeah, I spend 15 hours on the computer every day and I'm unlikely to get off and change that habit. We can try to work with you, but I can promise you're just not going to get the results that you may to optimize your health. My favorite story is one gal loves her Sanders bumpy cake. And that's a famous chocolate cake we make in Michigan, Eastern Michigan. Loaded with whipped cream in the middle and then covered with like this chocolate ganache. And she says, I have to have my piece of Sanders bumpy cake every day. So
every day. Oh, Lordy.
Yeah. So she loves her. So then she wonders, a few months into our, working together, is like, I'm just not dropping the weight like I'd like to. It's a middle-aged woman, bioidentical hormone therapy. And she's kind of working out with the trainer. And I said, well, maybe that one slight change, instead of Sanders bumpy cake, instead of that lovely chocolate cake, how about you just do a dark piece of chocolate? She's like, oh, okay, let me give that a try. And so suddenly there was transformation. It was just a tiny change. And she lost the weight. She looks wonderful. She's like, I actually feel better because I'm not putting as much sugar into my body. So it's also looking for how willing is the client willing to change? And the other unique thing about our practice is, apart from the time and space, we do extensive battery of labs, looking for a deep dive as to perhaps why you're feeling the way you are. Then we get together a few weeks later and do a deeper dive, do a 90-minute consultation. We actually send out a very extensive questionnaire, as you know, at your daily activities, looking at sleep habits, looking at how far do you drive? How fast do you drive? What are your risk factors? Do you text while you drive, to your point? Which is, can be high risk and dangerous. So once we do that, then yes, then we come up with a cohesive plan. Perhaps it includes hormones, perhaps it includes some really good quality supplements. And then if individuals are really struggling, and let's say the disease process has progressed, well, if we have to use some medications, we'll use medications. So it's actually combining the best of two worlds, but then it's also teaching and empowering the patient, and to say, change doesn't happen every time you show up in my office. The change happens every day as you choose to make the healthier choices.
Yes, absolutely. So you do have to be at a place where you're ready.
Absolutely. The willingness to change.
Okay. So I want everybody to know that I've already, I think, made myself clear, but she is phenomenal. And you can see her telehealth. So it doesn't matter where you live. You can work with Dr. Hakim, and I can guarantee you won't be disappointed. She's wonderful. She, like I believe I said in the beginning, is things are explained just like some at 10 years old, 6 years old can understand the way she explains things. It doesn't matter what area of your life or your background or anything, you'll be able to understand what she's saying. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, where can they find you again, Dr. Hakim?
Sure. You can find us at www.prosperityhealthmi, like Michigan.com, or you can give us a call at 248-997-4242. I have some wonderful team members who are here ready to help you.
Absolutely, she does. Trust me. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you.
Menopause looks like more than just hot flashes. Are you in your 40s and experiencing fatigue, unexplained weight gain, moodiness, or low libido? This may be a hormone imbalance. Feel like yourself again with help from Dr. Nishath Hakim at Prosperity Health. Call today for a telehealth consultation, 248-997-4242. That's 248-997-4242. Or visit prosperityhealthmi.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we overcome everything and compromise nothing. My guest today, Dr. Hakim, and I have been talking about living longer, preventative medicine, control of aging, and daily habits, which is what we're going to get into a little bit more now. So there are we are going into spring right now, and spring, I know, speaks to you, Dr. Hakim, of transformation. And we were talking on break a little bit about developing a habit 21 days. And then if you go 90 days, then it becomes permanent. Do you want to speak more to that?
Sure. So quite often, if you ask an individual to make a change, and in the real world, we'll say, stop smoking, stop eating the ho-ho, cupcakes or the bumpy cake, Sanders bumpy cake, or and that's the other thing, is that in medicine, we, even 30 years ago when I trained, it was very patriarchal, right? Mm-hmm. It was the physician talking down to the patient. And I mean, things need to change, because change does not come from the physician saying anything. Mm-hmm. Change comes when, number one, there's awareness in the individual, and they say, yeah, I need to make a change. Sometimes, though, the change can be big and bold, and that's wonderful. Sometimes it can be small baby steps. So I recently was talking to a psychologist. She's actually a sports psychologist. And she said, the difference between the ball bouncing and the ball breaking is a 1 degree change of how it hits the ground. And I was like, wow, that's phenomenal. So she said, change can be really small and subtle, but if you stick with it on a daily basis, let's start with 21 days. It becomes a routine, and your body's kind of like, I can do this. And if you add another 90 days onto it with that, let's say, routine or that 1% change, it becomes a permanent lifestyle habit. So we're looking at 111 days. So start small or start big, but just be consistent with it. So the question that the psychologist posed to everybody in the audience that day was, what would you like to do? How would you like to see the next 21 days? Where can you improve your health? And, I'm sitting there reflecting on it, and I was like, I'm going to move every day or go to a yoga class every day. And then I said to myself, well, I could do that, but I think it's a little bit more than I can handle. So you know what? Personally, I decided that I was going to floss every single day and create that new habit, because honestly, who doesn't need healthier gums? And there's a lot of research, by the way, out there showing that bleeding gums, oral systemic link increases inflammation, increases the aging process. So that's another piece that, perhaps we can discuss in the future, but keeping that we talk about gut health, but keeping your oral health optimum, no bleeding gums, no inflammation, is so, so important. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to floss every day. So it was a small step. I believe it's my 1% change, and it's been wonderful. So I'm like almost 3 weeks into it, and I'm like, oh, I miss not flossing.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is, did you know that if you floss every day, those individuals actually have been known to live 5 years longer?
It's amazing. And I believe that. I've often thought that, like, how can brushing get everything out from inside your teeth? It can't.
It doesn't. And, and so if you talk to, some of these wonderful advanced, dentists who understand the oral systemic link and the inflammatory link, they can speak to it for hours. But what's cool is, okay, I'm going to do some self-care in the form of just flossing,
Right.
and so, and those are the small things. Other things people chose to do was a gratitude journal. I think that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. 10, 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, just saying thank you to the universe and listing 3, 4, 5 things that they're so grateful for. And we have so much to be grateful for nowadays. We're coming into spring. We're hoping that everybody is healthy and happy, and we're moving past COVID. We'll see, we'll see what Mother Nature brings. We're always thinking about people out there who are living under, trials of tribulation and war and hunger and famine.
Yeah.
So I think every single day, just to say, I do have my struggles, I do have my challenges, but gosh, can I write down 3 or 4 or 5 things that I'm grateful for? And it could be, for me yesterday, it was like 70-degree weather, sunshine.
Yeah. Yep. And you think even when you are, say, flossing, you can be grateful that you've got teeth to floss and you don't have dentures, I mean, there are so many ways that you can do that. I when I go for my walk in the morning, I look all around like, thank you for these flowers. Thank you for letting me see the, grass that's getting greener out there, all these things. And it makes a world of difference in your day.
It does. And it also takes time to slow down and create that awareness. And so again, because technology, because the instant gratification world is here with us, I think we often don't slow down to smell the flowers, as it were, and to enjoy life. And I think when you stop doing that, it's going to create more anxiety, more unhappiness. So disconnecting from too much interaction with the computer world, technology world, I think it's really important. And more individuals recognize, get out, get outside, reconnect with Mother Nature, no matter what time of the year it is. Reconnecting with individuals who you feel good around. They make you happy. They bring peace and joy into your life. I mean, my goodness, who doesn't need more of that?
Right. And, and you were talking about little things. So flossing compared to, taking an exercise class every day. What I teach in my coaching practice and what I was taught when I was learning too is what Lisa Nichols calls as needlepoint moves. Just little ones, daily little things add up to big things. And you can reach those goals if you can celebrate yourself too. Like, hey, I did this today. Hey, I went for my walk today. I did this, and looking at yourself in the mirror in the evening and saying, you know what, you did good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those are the daily lifestyle habits, by the way. If we have just a quick second to talk about is that there's a concept of epigenetics, and epigenetics is saying how your genetics, this is kind of interesting, how your genes interact with the people, the places, the foods that you come into contact with every day can actually increase your longevity versus shortening your longevity. So if you a very simple example would be smoking. If we were to smoke, it's an outside exposure, right? So it's something that you're exposing yourself on a regular basis. Well, smoking can have interaction with normal tissue in your body. And if we're not mindful of it, it can produce lung cancer. So that is a concept of epigenetics. But there are even more telling pieces saying certain lifestyle habits can actually reverse it. Certain lifestyle habits can actually promote longevity and healthy aging. And this is something that has been being studied in the last 10 or 15 years in medicine. And so this is why it's so important, because we continue to live where we have an aging population, but we're not aging healthy. So it is costing individuals billions and billions of dollars to the point where they're rationing insulin, they're rationing their medications. They can't do it every day. And that's an unfortunate side effect of saying a pill will fix everything. It does not do that.
It does not. Oh my gosh. So we have 1 minute left of the show. What do you want to leave with our guests today?
I would just say I am so grateful today to be here, so close to spring, so close to you guys, to have this platform to help individuals understand that, health and wellness is not just sitting in front of the doctor. Health and wellness is the lifestyle and the habits that we choose every single day. And I highly encourage everybody to go out there and find a partner in health who believes in this philosophy. There is a movement in medicine where we recognize this and we encourage this, and we want to help, shine a light on saying it's the habits that you do every day that can create the health and wellness that you want. So you could be the grandma who's 80 or 90 years old who walks into the office every single day or every year and just gets a clean bill of health and walks right out, no medication.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Dr. Hakim. And I think we should do it again.
Thank you. I would love to join you again. This has been wonderful.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Transformation with Martine. Did listening today spark a sense of hope and possibility? Hold on to this feeling and tune in every second and fourth Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific for more inspiring conversations with Martine and her guests. They will show you there is hope, and you are right where you need to be. Martine is dedicated to supporting you right where you are while launching you towards promise, passion, and possibility that leads to the fulfilled life your heart aches for. If you're tired of being stuck, schedule a complimentary consultation with Martine and get on the exciting path towards the life you want to be living. Visit martineemmons.com and make your appointment today.